Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whenever. It's Coffee Talk, and thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Things are a little different this week, hey Jeff?
Yeah.
We are, first off, you'll notice, not the stage. We are in Pastor Jeff's office. It is set and ready to go. You've already had some meetings in here. We thought we'd move things, two reasons we wanted to switch things up today. One, Kevin's away. He's off this week. He's actually taking time off, which is great. And so we wish him a time of rest and rejuvenation from that, as he takes some time away. And then it just give people a sense, like, we've been talking about you starting and kind of the process of that, but I thought this might give a chance for people to see a little bit. Not that we're doing a pan around the office or anything, but it's...
Got to leave a little to the imagination.
Sure.
Or so they come and see our place.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you want to know what his commentary collection looks like, come on by. And
I can hear your story too.
That's right. Well, we've been doing a fair bit of that. Hey, actually, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we are. Sorry.
Because no, that's okay. I have my notes here, and you know how we gotta keep the standard high for Kevin's sake. He doesn't want us slacking off here. We wanted to start something new, actually, and I don't know if this will be a weekly thing, but regular. But we just want to simply start a new segment, and we're going to call that "What's New with You." And jingle pending. I think we should graphics this out.
Oh.
We should get a jingle. But
that's
we're just
Kevin's
not
job
there
this week.
That's Kevin's job.
Oh,
yeah.
wait,
so
he's supposed to rest.
he's resting this week, and maybe we can spring it on him when he comes back. That he
Yeah.
needs to write a jingle and come up with some sweet graphics.
Yeah.
For what's new with you. But Jeff, why don't we start with you? Jeff, what's new with you?
Well, this is new for me. What's new with me? I'm having to think about what's new.
Absolutely.
No, a couple things. On Sunday, I've talked about hiking behind my house.
Yeah.
I just love that I can walk out my house and go hiking. So Sunday, I took Gabe.
Yeah.
Gabe normally doesn't really like to go hiking, so he went with me for a hike. And as I was going, I was thinking, Cheryl's wheelchair might be able to tackle this part of the trail.
All right.
So I get home, and when she wakes up from her nap, I said, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I said, so we got out, and normally we just walk down the road, and I said, "No, you follow me this way." And she's like, "Where are we going?" Right? So you'll like it. So we get to the trail, and she's like, "This is great." And so she's going down the trail, and I'm thinking we'd go, I don't know, half a kilometer or something, and whatever, however far her chair could make it.
Yeah.
Well, she's loving it. She's like, "I think I can do that." So we end up going farther than I went with Gabe, all over this trail. At a couple points, I had to push her, through the mud and whatever.
Yeah.
And then we're like, "We haven't tried that part yet."
Yeah.
And she said, "I think," so this gives you a sense of Cheryl. She's pretty adventurous, right?
Yeah. That's cool.
So she's like, "I think we can do this."
Okay.
So we end up coming down this really steep part.
Yeah.
And she's about to fall out. Then she hits a rock.
Yeah.
Her chair's stuck.
Yeah.
I can't move it, so we have to get her out of the chair, and she's laughing, she's loving it, but she's going to pay for it the next day, obviously, next few days, but she gets out. People are walking by, they come up and help. We just got this whole community around getting her chair down, but that was neat. So
all right.
That's kind of new.
So tell me about this trails, because I have not hiked that part of Rose Valley. Like, are we talking, like, are they typically fairly wide and packed? I mean, if a chair can get along most of them, they must be pretty well maintained.
She's got a good chair. Like we found her a good chair, and we got it used, so we got a really good deal. But it's not super wide, and it's quite heavy.
Okay.
So these are bike trails, and they're blue. And she even went out as part of a black bike trail, right? Now it was the easy part, but still. Right. Blue trails, they can get kind of narrow and steep and whatever.
So are they actually marked blue, black, whatever, or are you just from all your experience,
No, they were marked. This is a blue, I don't know, there was a name on it.
All right.
I could look it up and remember, but she's actually going on bike. She even said at one place, they're going to wonder what kind of bike this is.
Just two people really close together cycling along.
Really parallel biking, So, no, they were real, and she just loves being out.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think we can make it. And
That's
so,
great.
you know, and obviously I can help push the chair a little bit once in a while. And but that was really fun.
Now, what about outfitting it with like tracks, like you would have on like a excavator or something?
Wouldn't
that be a cool conversion?
If we could do that, if anybody knows of anything, she would be like your best friend forever. Like she would love that. So I
personally would have no idea. I'm so not mechanical. I'd be lost, but I bet you someone's done it.
I'm sure. Oh, and I've seen pictures of things being outfitted like that.
Yeah.
But we haven't found that for a chair, which would be so amazing.
That'd be pretty cool. Okay, great. So awesome. So you're just continuing to explore, and I'm glad that Cheryl's able to get out a bit too. This is I was thinking the other day, this is the weirdest. I feel like we should as a church be constantly cautioning you guys, because this winter is so not typical.
Really?
And I feel like you're potentially being set up for like if January 2022 is a typical January, you guys are going to be frozen.
Way different.
You're like, hey, wait, you had it so easy. But sorry, I cut you off. What were you?
That's
okay.
Okay.
You say something else?
Oh, I mean, if there was snow, the boys would be loving that too.
Yeah.
For the sledding, but So what's new with me? So that was one thing that was new.
Yeah.
And just another one that I want to mention is we've been hearing people's stories, and we're going to be sharing some of those stories. We'll tell you more in a little bit about that. But I really love hearing people's stories, and I love hearing your stories, and I'm excited to get to meet more of you. I'm starting to work through the phone book and try to call people and set, at least talk to somebody over the phone, and and
that's great.
So so all your stories are new.
Yeah.
To me,
it's great.
So,
very good.
Yeah. How about you? What's new with you?
Oh, well, what's new with me? Tuesday of this week, I started a new class. Okay. So I'm taking an ethics class this semester. I have 4 credits left.
For what? What are you pursuing?
For my MDiv that I've been studying, and I mentioned that a little bit off and on. It occurred to me, so in my introduction, we introduced ourselves all of the class yesterday, kind of where we are. It was really kind of interesting because in our class, there's 28 people in the class. There was 20 of us on the Zoom call yesterday for our first week of studies. And everyone, it's kind of all over North America in many ways, which was really interesting. So because the class is both a Taylor Seminary class from Edmonton, which is where I've been studying through, but as they've partnered more and more formally over the years with Sioux Falls Seminary in, I want to say South Dakota. I always get the 2 Dakotas mixed up as whether it's north or south.
I'm not sure either.
And you know,
I thought it was north, but
maybe it is. Maybe
it
is North Dakota. It's one of the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Right. Forgive my ignorance, America. But
I'm American, so I'm just as ignorant.
Yeah. Right. There you go. Yeah. Thanks for letting me have the hook so easy. Anyways, so from there, and then but then I'm in class with a number of people from Edmonton. I was the only BC representative on the call.
Really?
We had people from Saskatchewan, most from kind of that central Alberta area. I would say about half the class maybe, but then we had people from like Oregon and South Dakota, Pennsylvania, like all of over, because they've all been like Sioux Falls, like everything's online pretty much, like so it really attracts students from all over America then. So that was kind of fun, as we had discussions about ethics, hearing the just perspectives are different because it's multiple denominations then in the class. We've got Baptists and Anglicans and Lutherans and all coming together, some non-denominational, some people whose ministry context is with First Nations people in Alberta, and so really quite a variety of perspectives coming together, which is really, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's really neat just to sit back and just listen. And to all of the conversation. But the primary, I guess, discussion yesterday after the introductions and, first day of a class, you're just learning what are the assignments and what are we doing here. But so the first real part of it where we kind of started to learn anything was discussing about hard conversations. And we were talking about those conversations where really what makes a conversation so challenging when you're trying to talk with someone you disagree with. And it just, so it was just a really yeah, it was it was quite the class. Just kind of sitting back and kind of wrestling with that. Okay, why is it so hard for us to have those hard conversations when you just know? And what was interesting is when we were asked to sort of share, we were asked to share examples of times when we found it hard to have a conversation with somebody you disagree with. Almost everyone's example came from a conversation with a family member.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't like it was, no one ever said, oh, it was my neighbor, or it was someone else in this other church, or people that you have real distance with. It was always intimate. Like, this is an example where I disagreed with a family member, and that was a hard conversation. And most of the people in the class, it was like split because they did a quick poll, 45% versus 55%. 55% said that they find it really challenging to have a meaningful, purposeful conversation with someone when you know you disagree with them. And then we unpacked that a while. And so it was so great. It was so great because it's one of those moments where you take the survey and then you kind of sweat and like, oh, am I the only one? Am I the only one who answered the way I answered? Oh, no. And then you find out, you're like, oh, this is like a huge group of people.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to feel like, oh, I'm not alone. But then to kind of unpack that a little bit, it was a great start to a semester. Another thing really in common with, I don't know why it seemed this way, but most of us in the class, probably half of those who were on the call yesterday, so maybe the 8 people were missing would answer differently, but about half the class said, yeah, this is my final semester. So I don't know why we're all waiting to the very end to take ethics. I thought that was really interesting. We're all put it off, but I think it's going to be a real invigorating and exciting kind of course to take.
Yeah.
And very, very poignant. I know a few of us, myself included, don't have to take ethics because we took other things, and I did take an ethics class in my undergrad degree and thought, well, but it just fit the schedule, and it seems like I don't want to say the challenges today are different than 20 years ago. They're in many ways the same, but they are different. I don't know quite how to balance that out. The challenges are significant, but yet there's always been significant challenges. This is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so it's I look forward to.
I find it interesting that your first discussion on ethics was conversations. So what was the explanation there?
There kind of wasn't one. I think it's just to sort of help us set up that, look, ethical conversations are going to be hard.
Yeah.
So how do you move forward? Because that was really what he was wanting to move us to, is, okay, this is why it's hard. So how do we move forward with that?
Yeah.
And a lot of it came down to, well, it's humility. It's how do we feel about the other person? Do we actually sort of go, you know what? God loves that person, even if, and remember that in the midst of a conversation that we're struggling. We're like, oh, they just don't get it. But at the same time, even just saying or thinking, oh, this person I'm talking with just doesn't get it, defeats the point.
Yeah.
Right? And so how do we come into those conversations, or we need to, I guess really the moving forward is, we need to come into those conversations with an attitude that says, you know what? They might have a perspective I need to hear.
Yeah.
They might have something actually that will refine me. But it's challenging. I think we've had those conversations where we feel like the other person just isn't listening. They don't care. They're not open to moving. They have a hard heart. Actually, my devotional reading this morning from Zechariah was talking about the hard-heartedness of the people, right? And how frustrating that is to God. I get that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what we need to remember is, look, if they're hard, it frustrates God more than it'll ever frustrate us.
Wow.
And so it's all settled in on how are we humble enough to love the person that disagrees with us, because God loves them. And if we're ever going to have any hope of significant, meaningful, productive, hard conversation, we've got to keep those things first and foremost. And so that's the launching to our ethics course, which I'm excited about, keeping going for the semester.
That's really good. I think that's wise. As I've thought about, practiced, discussed, even sharing your faith, we tend to think we have to have all the answers and convince the other person. And we approach ethics the same way. We have the right arguments, we got to convince them. But a hard heart isn't going to, most of the time, isn't going to be moved by us presenting a big, awesome argument because they're just not ready to hear it.
No, of course not.
But they will hear our love.
Yeah, and you know, it ties into with, so our youth have been going through a series called Christians at Our Best.
Yeah.
And this week was all about what does it really mean to be ambassadors? And so part of that is remembering that we don't go with our message.
Mm-hmm.
We just go with Jesus.
Yeah.
We take his message to other people and present him.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that I think is important for us to remember too, that, you know, it's not about us. And they kind of made the point in there about how misguided it is to think that it's all about us, about our message and our work. And no, it's about God. We're just his representative, and we need to make sure we're pointing to him in all things. And so that's part of it. I mean, in those hard conversations, how are we going to point? Just how are we representing Jesus in them?
And how do you remember it right in the middle?
Yeah,
because you're invested. That's why we have the hardest conversations with people we love, because we're so invested. And then it's like, come on, I care so much about you. You got to see it this way. And how do we love? Yeah. Wow. I'm excited to hear more about your class.
Well, this is not... Coffee Talk's not going to suddenly become Chris Unpacks his ethics class every week. But we'll...
Sometimes. I think it'd be good.
Sure, when appropriate. Absolutely. But so we'll bring you along for the journey a little bit. And we understand some of you just might hear that and go, oh, check out. But that's all right. We'll try not to overdo it a little bit. But a few announcement things, just moving on, keeping us rolling here, because that is the heart of Coffee Talk, is just making sure that you're connected with what's happening at Lakeview, and as well as connecting to what's going on in our lives, and because it's a people thing, it's not just agenda program driven, especially in COVID. It's all about people. So a few things to remember, or maybe be informed of if you didn't know this yet. Tuesday. And I've already lost track of what day of the week next Tuesday is. Do you remember off the top of your head?
January 27th, I want to say, but let me just check.
Let's look. No, because that's a Thursday.
No, that'd be Thursday, yeah.
The 20...
Which means it's the 25th?
I mean, the Wednesday is the 27th. So the 26th, right? My calendar format is... I got to switch to this. It just throws me around.
The 26th.
There you go, the 26th.
Yes.
We have baptism services that are going to be on Zoom. And so we'd love for you to join us. We have 2 gentlemen getting baptized. I realize that. I think I'm older than both of them. That's awesome. Or maybe both the same age as one. Anyways, 4:30, Brad Long is getting baptized. And so love for you to come online.
Tune in.
Tune in. Just makes me think of TV. But join the call. Join that. We're doing it on Zoom for the most significant reason is that it gives you the opportunity to feedback, right? One of the greatest things about baptism services is that you watch it live, but more than that, you get to offer encouragement to those being baptized. And so we invite you to, be praying about what is a verse you might want to share with each individual. So, and what is a word of encouragement you want to say to them as they just publicly declare their intent of following Jesus with their whole heart. And so join us. 4:30, Brad Long is getting baptized. 6:30, Devin Bourgeois is getting baptized. And there's a couple reasons why that is the way it is. It's spread out. There's a big gap. That's really kind of a provincial guideline for these sorts of things. They want to have at least an app. Their requirement, I think, is the best way to say it. I read it as a requirement. If you read through the website, 1 hour between,
different groups.
Yeah, different groups, because it's not an event, because there's no one else here except for those being baptized and parents, and they have the government stipulation is 10 people or less, so we're following that on site. But to have an hour break in between so that you can sanitize what needs to be sanitized. More than anything, though, air can be circulated out so that there's great ventilation and air turnover. And so that's that. So what you can do is join the Zoom call just a little before 4:30. We will, for the first baptism, then you can keep it connected if you really want. Otherwise, you can, disconnect, walk away, grab some dinner, do your thing, and then join us just before 6:30 again. It's the same call ID, the same link and everything. It will be going out with the bulletin email on Friday. So check your email for that. If you don't get it, call us. Ursula's in the office on Tuesday. She'll be, you can call her and she'll resend you the link. And so watch for that. Don't let that, don't miss that in your email, because we really would love to have you there to encourage them to witness it. Also, these two individuals want to become members, and so it'll be an opportunity, a time for you to hear their testimony. And then at the AGM on the 31st, that one's ingrained in my brain, at 6:30, part of that AGM meeting is accepting new members. And both Brad and Devin are two of the individuals who are up for membership. And so, hey, you just hear their testimony at their baptism, and then it will, it just flows naturally right into accepting as members. So it's great opportunity, great time to be the church in a real fun way.
It's really exciting.
And just share together in this. So that's why just been hearing so many testimonies lately. It's a great way to meet people and just know, hey, tell us your story. But also it's such a significant thing for the life of the church. So anything to add to that, Jeff?
Oh, well, we're recording the stories, and we will be sharing them. We probably won't share them all at the AGM, just because there's a lot, and we have other business to do as well. But we want it to be a significant thing for you to hear their stories. So we're recording them, and then we will share them at the best time that we can have most of you see that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's good.
Well, that's it for us today. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday.